Okay, sorry it took me so long to get this video made for you guys. But I have this one already made, so I'm just gonna make one and try to describe it the best I can. So I usually put it with the rounded corners away from me, and then I pinch it in half. And then when you hold it together like this, you should be able to get like an idea of where your tails are going to fall after the bow is made. So you want the straight sides in and the rounded sides out. And then from here, I have it in these two fingers. And then, sorry about my voice, I'm kind of congested. I pull the middle in, and then I try to make sure that the top loops and the bottom tails are even. It's not the end of the world if they're not perfectly even. But then I cross the two loops over, and you can see the little hole in the middle. And then while you hold your top two loops, you're gonna pull the back one forward and push it through this little hole, bringing this front tail with it. So hopefully you can see this. Here's the top loop. I bring it forward and push it through, and then I push this little tail in with it. Whoops. And then just very loosely tie it, and it looks crazy. So when you do that, it's gonna look crazy. And then sometimes it'll even come out like all flipped around like this, where you're like not sure what's right. Usually I pick this loop on the left, and then I stick my finger through the loop and I pull to figure out which direction this tail is pulling from, if it's pulling from the front or if it's pulling from the back. If it pulls from the back, you have the wrong side facing up. So I always like this tail that hangs on the right to be pulling from the top of this loop. So it is. And then on the back loop, you also want the tail that corresponds to this loop to be pulling from the top as well. So I pull this one doesn't pull. It's trying to tighten. It pulls from the back right now. So that means I have to flip it. So you flip your bow upside down, hold your tail, and then just turn this little loop. So that way when you pull on the tail, it pulls from the top part of the loop. Then you just go through and flatten out the loops where we pinched them when we went to fold. And it gets messier before it gets better, but it's just how it goes. So don't tighten it yet, because we still have some adjustments to make. So this is the overall shape, but we still have some things to fix. So right here, this bottom surge line loves to get tucked under, and you don't want that because it ruins the shape of your tail. So I usually kind of like move the fabric around underneath the center part so that way it lays correctly. And then once the surge line is up, it gets better. When you flip it over to the back though, you'll see on that right pedal that this surge line gets twisted in here. So you're gonna want to carefully just kind of twist a little bit so that it lays more flat on the back side, because that will affect how your loop looks. All right, so here we are. And then we're gonna do the same thing on this one. This one's kind of messed up right now, so you need to pull it forward. And it's good to have an understanding of where your fabric is coming from in the middle knot. So the twist in this backside of the loop is coming from this part of the knot. So if it's folded over one direction and I don't want it folded that way, then you can take this bottom part of your knot and flatten it out to where it lines up correctly with your serge seam, and then follow that change all the way through to the top. So right now it's really wide, we'll fix that. So now our loops are mostly, they're mostly laying the correct way. And our tails are laying the correct way. So now what I do is I hide the little serge, and I don't actually mind the serge lines, but it just makes it easier to take from this little portion right here where it gets all bunched up and fold it over so that you get a smaller center without affecting the way that your loops are positioned within the knot itself, or the center, whichever way you want to call it. And then I follow that fold all the way down. And then that likes to mess up my little serge line down here. And then I just fix that. So with my ring finger and my pinky finger, I usually hold the bottom loops, I meant the bottom tails, and I make sure that they're pretty even, as close to even as I can get it without like taking too much time, because you can always fix it later. So I hold those two, and then I just rock it back and forth, and then you can push this center part over with your thumb or your middle finger. It's hard to do this while I'm explaining it, because usually I guess I don't really explain it, I just think about it. This one little spot of my middle keeps wanting to come untucked. And you will have a lot of movement in the bow because the fabric is so slippery. All right, so now you can tighten it a little bit. And then now you have to get the tails to lay right while also making sure that it's all even. So this tail obviously is not laying right. So we're gonna pull this bottom side, because when you have more length on the straight side, then it will come further into the middle. Actually, I said that backwards. Less length on the inside, like on the straight side, I mean, and then more length on the curved side will help it come more into the middle to lay flat. So then on this tail, we're gonna come back here, grab this serge line, pull in a little bit, and then come back here, grab this curved serge line and pull in a little bit. And so now we're getting closer, but it's still not laying just right. So back here, this serge line is tucked under, and I don't want that. So I just fix it. And then this may not be necessary, but this is just what I do. My tails are not even, so I pull this one down a little bit to get it even. For the most part, this one's too long. And then I hold these, and then I grab my loops and I pull. Like, so nothing is changing in length, I just pull it because then it rearranges the knot to be more of like an up and down instead of a total flat, and then that lets your loops hang better. And so now I'm gonna tighten it some more. I put my fingers through the loop and I hold on to the back part of it, and I hold on to the knot, and I just gently tug that back part, and it will pull from the knot fabric and tighten it, and then do a little bit on the other side. But you need to do it a little bit at a time, because if you pull too much, you're not gonna have any left to pull on the other loop with. And then you're gonna have an uneven bow and you have to start over. sometimes I grab it and like kind of tug it, twist it backwards if it's not laying flat. So now you just kind of mess with it until you get all the fabric bunched up the right way. Because the way that it drapes, like the way that it the way that it folds as it's going into the knot will have a big effect on the way that the fabric lays on the other side of the knot. So sometimes you just have to mess with those little folds. And then that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I'm good with this one. It does look a little off to me, but when you get to this spot, you can pull this up and then tug this in a little bit. And that looks pretty good, but it needs to be tightened a little more because it's still a little short. So just put your thumb back through the loop and tug just a little bit because you don't have a lot left anyways. And you want to have enough fabric left to tighten so that you can tighten both loops as evenly as possible. And then you can pull just a little. And sometimes whenever you have to tighten it, but like this one, I need more length on my tail, but my loop is good. So I get the extra length I need, and now this top loop is off. You can pull from just this back top part to give it a little bit more rounded shape. Instead of pulling from the whole loop to tighten it from the back, just pull from the top. All right, and then once I'm done, I pull them down one more time so that they're all like more of a vertical up and down shape than a horizontal square shape. And that's it. That's how I do them. Hopefully that helps. Sorry if it's not easy to follow along. I've never really explained it before, but the more that you do it, the better you'll get at it. And it's pretty much never like a one and done, tie it, fix it. Like it takes a little bit of time and patience. And then once you like it, you have to leave it alone. Like you just have to set it aside and don't touch it, because I could sit here and make useless corrections to these all day long and still never get any different result. But this is the best that I have found. Like this is the best that I have been able to get them, and in my opinion, this is also the ones that I've liked the most. But again, that's just my preference. So this is it. Hope this helps you guys. If you have questions, just ask.